Okay guys, welcome back. We have Skippy once again.
Skippy's returning, guys.
Skippy is returning. Question master, because it's been a while, but you've got your 3K Q&A questions in, and I've been trying to get this video done for a while, and thank you so much for everyone who's contributed questions. We're going to go through, try and go through real quick. Skippy's going to push me along. He's going to be harsh if he doesn't think I've answered the question. He's going to
I'll be very much honest. I'll be honest what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's a classic Australian-English relationship here. You're going to give me a hard time. Yeah.
Rivalry.
Absolutely. Right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, so first question we've got is from Oliver Webb. And Oliver is asking, is it an advantage to host the World Cup, or does it put too much pressure on the players?
Okay, great question. Good starting one, Oliver. There's two sides here. So advantage is less travel.
Yeah, I agree. More
familiarity. So you know your crowd, you know the stadium, you know you can probably stay at home sometimes when you're not in training camp. You can like nip home and visit the family. Those are big positives, and that can really help. And you know the conditions, so it's definitely helpful. But we have seen there are negatives, and it's the pressure really. The pressure of the media, it's all the time, everyone knows you, you're not going to be left alone. And maybe the biggest one, I think, Skippy, is the pressure players put on themselves when they're in a home World Cup. I don't know what you think, but you know, it depends how you cope with that pressure.
I do. I'm not going to be overly popular with the next comment. However, England, World Cup, home, it wasn't overly great, but I cannot remotely comment about the Australian rugby at the moment.
Anyway,
so we'll move on.
You're right. I think the pressure I think it told a little bit on the coaches when they made their selection decisions as well. But then again, New Zealand coped with their home World Cup quite nicely.
Very well.
By winning it. So anyway, great start, great question.
So, question two, we got a question from Bob Davison, and Bob's asking, how does Scotland win away from Murrayfield against the top teams?
Okay.
Fair point, fair question.
Yeah, I mean,
what's they need to do?
Scotland have been playing well, but yes, their away record is not as good as their home record. And no one's away record is generally as good, but theirs in particular isn't great. I think what I would say with Scotland is they run on emotion quite a lot. Because they're playing this high tempo, high risk game, they need to be absolutely on it, right at the top of their emotional level. And when they're away from home, it's harder to get there.
I agree.
And for some teams that I think have an easier game plan, it's easier to go through the structure without that big emotion. So it's going to be harder, I think, for Scotland to win away from home. So they've just got to keep going at their game plan until it's so automatic they don't need a massive emotional boost.
I agree. As an Australian, I know Murrayfield, a hard place to go to.
Because they're always going to be right there.
Exactly, right. Yeah. Next question. This question is nameless. However, assuming everybody's fit and in form, what would your England starting team be? Okay,
fit and in form, well, let's hope they are. Who knows? But okay, England question. I'll go nice and quick. It would be Mako, George, Sinclair, Laws, Atoje, Shields at the moment at 6, best we can do, I think. Underhill 7, Billy 8. Youngs and Farrell 9-10, Cockney-Seager left wing, Teo Daly I'm putting at 13, May 14, Brown 15, so comment on that.
Quick one for me, Cipriani, yes or no?
Ah, he's coming up, he's coming up.
It's coming up,
Next
it's coming
question.
up.
Next question.
Okay, we've got Alex Mason has asked, ironically enough, do you see George Ford as a liability in the 22 shirt due to his poor defensive technique? His attack is brilliant, but losing the large impact tackle from Farrell, as well as his leadership, leaves a massive hole to fill. Here, Danny Cipriani is more suited to that, with Smith also providing a bigger hit. This is what Alex Mason thinks. Do you agree or disagree? Which side are you going? Okay,
I like George Ford. Everyone likes George Ford because he's a lovely rugby player. But yes, in short, yes, he's going to be a liability, Skippy, just because he's tiny. That's it, really. It's not his fault. He's just very small. And he's very brave at defending. And I don't think his technique's that bad. He's just tiny. So as a coach, you've just got to weigh it up. The pros and cons, what Ford gives you and the weakness he provides you. And at the moment, what's interesting actually is most coaches, we've had Lancaster before him and now Eddie Jones, are saying what he gives me is more important than what I lose. Even factoring in Cipriani's talent, the way Ford conducts himself and runs the team and is a real team player, they think outweighs the physical side, the skill side that Cipriani gives, actually, which is interesting, and they see them week in, week out. So, you know, even though I think, please fit Cipriani in somehow, they're making that weighing up decision that it's Ford every time, which is...
I agree with what you're saying. I think with the Cipriani, one of those things as a coach, you have a player who's a very, very good player. However, discipline's a problem, maybe doesn't make the best choices. That can impact the long-term team, impact the ethos of the team, and players will think there's free run for what they do.
Coaches hating players that might disrupt what they've got going.
Exactly. Right, we've now got a question from Kieran Parro, and Kieran's asking, what is your thoughts of teams poaching players from other countries, and do you think this weakens smaller countries?
Oh, you might have a good take on this, actually, Skippy, from being, you know, in and around that Pacific region there. But it defines poaching, doesn't it? Well, it depends on the definition of poaching. What is poaching? Now, my take with residency is, it is what it is. The rules are 5 years now. If you're living somewhere for 5 years and you're prepared to put in that commitment and you're putting in the commitment on the pitch, then I don't see that as poaching. I think that's just how it is. Nationality is quite fluid these days. If someone decides to live somewhere for 5 years, fine. I don't even bat an eyelid now. I just don't think it's worth making a fuss, to be honest.
I agree. Some seems to take is poaching. I don't see it as poaching as such. End of the day, if you get offered an opportunity, I've coached in the UK, I've coached in Australia, I've coached in some aspects in New Zealand, I've coached all over the world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's poaching, it is just progressing your coaching profile, your coaching portfolio, and progressing also yourself as a player.
Yeah.
If the opportunity's there, you take it.
Where it comes into poaching potentially is when you're deliberately going and enticing a player to come to your school, your club, your country, not because you want to better them as a person, you just want them in your team. Now, but again, there's two sides to that. So the one in the papers at the moment in New Zealand is schools trying to poach players from each other, and of course there's that kind of poaching players from the Pacific Islands to come and play for their clubs, etc. But those players, they're not coming over at gunpoint, they're getting a great deal. They're getting money that they could be supporting their whole family.
Exactly.
So it's like they're not doing this because they're forced to, and you can't really stop it, because why would you stop someone who earns very little suddenly earning enough to support their whole family or even a village in Fiji, say? So again, I'm very reticent to say it should stop, but you know, when you have clubs deliberately going out and scouting players and pulling them halfway across the world away from their families where maybe they could go somewhere close, it's not going to get any better there until there's a professional club in the Pacific Islands specifically.
I agree. Right, let's move us on. And this is from the Rugby Village.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much simple as it is. Do you think Saracens are beatable?
Yes. Next question.
Yes.
Simple question, simple answer.
Simple answer. Fantastic.
Good.
Okay. We have got a question from Alex Beer. Great surname, Alex.
Yeah.
Alex is asking, when Watson comes back, do you see him as having more of a winger or fullback role? Interesting. Maybe Daly and Watson are interchangeable in the back line.
Yes, well, they are interchangeable. Do you know what? I'm reserving any sort of speculation until I can see Anthony Watson's over that Achilles injury, because sprinters and Achilles injuries, I've said before, are really nasty. And so let's just wait and see. I'm just not even going to think about it at the moment. So
time will tell. Great answer. Yeah. Right, Kelvin Hembrough. Kelvin is asking us, who would be your ideal replacement 12 for England for Tio? Not including, however, Farrell.
Okay.
Is Will Hurrell worth a punt?
Okay, and the question underneath from Aza124 is actually very similar. He's put in 12 trees, or Barrett potentially coming back into England at 12. Yeah, England badly need a replacement 12 for Tio. My person I've been putting out there again and again is Johnny Williams from Newcastle. I would try him first. I really think he's a youngster, he's got the ability. Rather than going back to one of the older guards, I would go for him, to be honest. I agree. Developing youth is the way to go. Unfortunately, Aussies have just not done that. It's all right, get over it. Get over it. We're not talking about Australia. Maybe at the end. Aza124 is thinking about Ben Teo as well. That was the one. Yeah, that was the same question.
Good point. Okay, Aussie needs to leave. Right, roast that beef. Interesting name.
Okay.
Assuming everyone is fit. Robshaw, Shields, Vinopola, Hughes, Simmons, Wilson, Curry, Underhill, Haskell, etc., etc. What, in your opinion, is England's strongest back row heading into the Six Nations and the Rugby World Cup?
Okay, and the question underneath from Ben Hartley is the similar, who's your answers at 12 and loose forward? So, all in together, I don't think there's an answer. I think England are still going to be patching it together possibly as a back row, but as far as I can see it, Tio's going to have to play 12 at the moment. And then it's Shields or Wilson for me at 6. Probably Shields because he offers that line-out versatility. Underhill or Curry at 7. And Billy at 8. I'm still not sure about Nathan Hughes. I worry about his high carrying. In the future, I think Ben Earl from Saracens at 7 might be a look. Ted Hill at 6. And maybe the Willis boys from Wasps. But
Could work.
it's definitely, we still don't know, and it's still a big problem. No answers. No answers, I'm afraid.
Okay, we'll move on. Son Chris is asking, what do you think the team will look like at the 2023 World Cup? I know it's hard to predict in all, but still be interesting to hear your thoughts. Okay, feeling the love there. By the way, love the channel. Don't think it matters. There's not much decoration, just great content.
Well,
feeling the love. It's nice to feel love.
I brought you for decoration today, Skippy.
The accent always works.
Yeah, okay, right. 4 years' time, 5 years' time is almost impossible, but I'll give it a go because it's fun. Okay, England in 4 years' time, I'm going to hope Mako Vinopola's still around. Going to go for Thacker at 2, Sinclair still at 3, a Toje pairing Joel Kapoku at 4 and 5, Ted Hill 6, Tom Curry 7, hoping Billy V still around at 8. 9, struggling, I'm going Velicott at the moment, and Marcus Smith. Cochran and Seeger on one wing with Thorley on the other wing, Johnny Williams, Joe Marchant centres, and Elliot Daly still there at fullback. How many I'll get right in 5 years' time? Probably none.
I'm sure one. Hit a few subscriptions to see if he gets it right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Max Hitchings is asking, do you think Laws needs redefining in regards to advantage? Okay, interesting. There have been a few instances recently where teams have made it over the try line but dropped the ball before being brought back. 5 minutes in play for a penalty. Okay, controversial one here. Most notably in the Wales versus Scotland game. In this instance, it was actually the TMO that brought it back.
Okay,
TMO coming into the call again.
Basically, is advantage going on for too long? Possibly yes, and some advantages are really long. And sometimes you'll see the 9s actually now because they're thinking, because if defences are organised, they're thinking, well, let's just take the penalty and let's not risk advantage being over or anything like that. They just take the penalty, which I quite like actually in a way. But how would you limit it? You can't really do a time limit, can you? Could you do a phase limit? But then if you say, all right, 5 phases and it's the penalty, but what if they're probably going to score on the 6th phase?
I think it's a bit of a sore point because it is to discretion of the individual referee taking that game, and each referee has a different point where they're going to ping, they're going to bring back advantage. So it's a difficult one to answer.
They have to, the refs basically have to talk together and try and get some sort of consistency on it, but I just don't see an answer for that. If you've got an answer, please comment below.
Definitely agree. We've got a question from Ben Walsh, and Ben is asking, why are Wales producing so many good back rowers?
Okay, I don't know. I think it could just be one of those freak things where a lot have come along at once. Or potentially maybe people were inspired by Sam Warburton. I don't know. That would be later on down the line. So I don't know. If you guys know, comment below. I'm just saying I don't know for that one. Sorry.
Honesty, great. So we've got another question here from Anonymous. But who do you think has made the biggest difference to a team this season? International or club? Who's been the biggest hitter?
I've probably just missed their name off, so apologies for whoever question that was, because it's a good one. So simply, I'm going to pick out 4. Faf de Klerk for South Africa and Sale. Just an absolute revelation. Every time he plays, those teams look so much quicker. The speed he played at against England in the summer tour was just frightening. Laidlaw, in a different way, makes the impact for Scotland at 9 because he brings that cool head and that control, plus the kicking game. For Wales, I think every time Alan Wynne-Jones plays, to be honest, he's just an absolute totem. Someone you can really look as a focal point. He makes a difference. And then, of course, Johnny Sexton, when he plays for Ireland, He just drives the standards. I mean, he's almost as scary as Schmidt, really. You don't want to let this guy down for many different reasons.
Fantastic. Joe's asking us, or do you think Wilson could be the answer to the blindside for England compared to Laws, Robshaw or Shields?
Maybe.
Wilson.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't think there is an answer. I think it's going to be a stopgap for this World Cup, whoever it is. Maybe it's Wilson. There we go.
Okay, Matt, bit of Australian theme in here. We got good on Eddie.
Okay.
Do you agree with Eddie Jones? Will Marrow be the best lock in the world? What do you think Daly's best position is? And your favourite rugby channel on YouTube? Keep up the good work.
Oh, I think they're saying it is their favourite rugby channel on YouTube. I think so. Daly's best position. He's probably 13, but he just hasn't played much for England at 13. And they seem to need him elsewhere, so I still don't know, to be honest. Marrow could be the best lock in the world. He's not at the moment. If he's going to, he just needs to improve some of his soft skills. So his handling maybe is a little bit softer, a bit more deceptive. And he just needs to keep going when to go, when not to go. He's getting better at that, but he's got the physical stuff and the leadership, but he just needs to control himself and also soften up his skills a bit. So maybe.
And well done, you passed the test. You were paying attention about if it's his favourite channel. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. Right, here we go. Keep going.
Simple. Ireland's most underrated player. Let's go.
Okay, Rory Best, most underrated player, leadership, aura. Even though he's not the best, excuse the pun, player on the pitch sometimes, he really leads from the front.
Okay, next we're going to fire through Fraser. Yep. Considering how well Mark Wilson played in the autumn test, here we go.
Another one.
Has he played his way into the England starting team for the World Cup, even with Billy Vunipola comes back?
Same thing maybe.
Okay, let's go. We're absolutely motoring now.
Okay.
We have got a big question here from Harry. With a brief period of the Australia game fielding a back line with Farrell, Tiolunga and Kogsenga, just quickly, do you think England have solved their problem with over-relying on speed and distribution?
Okay, so it's a scary attacking option having Teo Tuolangi together. The problem I have is they're not the quickest on the turn. So if you have a clever side with a lot of ball against you, they could definitely try and stand you up and go outside you. Really pressure the outside of England's defence, which can be narrow anyway. So I'd be worried about starting them together to start with or on a dry day. But certainly bringing them together when players are tired or you're dominating possession could be a good call. So I'm a bit unsure, but that's my answer. Oh, we missed one here. We missed Tom Lazarus. Sorry, on that last page.
Tom Lazarus.
The massive question.
Whoa, okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Sorry, Tom, in advance. Question for you. There was uproar before the last Lions tour from the Scottish public with only 2 Scots in the initial squad.
Would there be more than 2 Scots in the Lions tour?
What do you think?
I don't know. Scotland have a lot of good players, but as he said, it's comparable. They're very good, but are they better than 3 others from another country? I'm not so sure. But definitely Hogg and Watson, I would say, are definitely in. Those 2 definitely. And then it depends on the coach. If Gregor Townsend coached the Lions, which he could do, he's good enough to do it, and they play a more open game plan, which is risky for a Lions team because they are a scratch team that just get together, then you'd want players like Russell or George Horn potentially to up the tempo of the attack, so you'd see more. So I would say it depends on the coach and what they want.
I agree with that. I think it's coach style of rugby the coach plays.
Yeah.
The tactics are. Totally agree.
2 more.
Right. We've got Peter Young. We haven't seen Reece Webb. Fair enough. With Anscombe, do you think the Gats will try that combination in the Six Nations if Webb is available?
Okay. If Webb is available. I haven't heard anything about Webb being available. I'm sure Reece Webb is incredibly annoyed about how he's been cut out of the Welsh team when he thought it was going to be okay. So I don't really know. Don't know what his contract's like. Let's say he can get out of his contract at the end of the season and then sign with Wales, and then he won't have played in Wales before the World Cup. It's probably too late, and Wales have got lots of good scrum halves anyway, so I don't see him coming back. I can't see it.
Competitive market at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of players are improving, a lot of young players coming through.
Yeah.
Finally, we've got Neil.
Yeah, last one.
Best game you ever watched live?
Okay. Best game I ever watched live was England versus New Zealand 2003, just because England managed to win, and it was a cool result. I actually watched it back the other day on one of those classic channels.
Nice.
And it was really scrappy, and these games are never quite as good as you remember them in your head. And Ireland beat New Zealand a lot easier than England beat New Zealand in that game there, and then England went on to win the World Cup, so maybe that's a good sign for Ireland.
Right, you're going to get one question from me, an Australian one.
Got it.
Right, the Australian national team at the moment, in your opinion, are they a team or are they individual talent?
Well, they're individual talent at the moment. I think it's an easy answer, but Australia are a serious sporting nation. You know, when you get them right, when you get their psychology right, there's no better natural competitors on the planet. I'm not just buttering you up here, Skippy.
No, honestly.
Whoever it is, whoever comes in and knocks their heads together for the World Cup, they can do fantastic things. They do. I'm not sure their forwards are particularly great. I think Genya's slowed down a bit. But if they, then they've got the combination. Where do they play Foley? Do they hide him? Do they play him 10? But if they get it right, then they can beat anyone.
We're a backs team at the moment, but I agree with the pack. There's something not quite right, it's not clicking, so I kind of agree with your concept. I was curious.
If it's dry, good conditions, I don't know if they're playing in any of the indoor stadiums in Japan actually, but if it's good conditions, yes. If it's rainy and wet, I'd see them getting smashed by a big pack, to be honest.
I agree. It's going to be a hard time in the office for the Wallabies at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get through the other side.
Maybe.
Next time.
Okay, thank you very much, Skippy. Brilliant, guys. Thank you very much for all the questions. Keep commenting, keep subscribing. I'll have another video coming out next week. And obviously, it's going to be a bit quiet until the build-up to the Six Nations, but until then, we'll see you then.